Hello everyone, welcome back to Optimize FPL. We're going to be taking a look back at Game Week 35 and looking at Game Week 36, the biggest double game week of the year, and looking at what I'm going to be doing for it. Let's check it out. So Game Week 35 definitely could have went better. We took a -8 to bring in Cancelo, Coutinho, and Foster. 2 out of the 3 blanking. Cancelo getting a clean sheet, which was good for us. I mean, it was better than playing Rudiger, which would have definitely been worse for us. I think Rudiger only ended up getting probably 2 points if I had to guess after losing to Everton, so that was not great for him. Looking back, I feel like Salah getting benched was more obvious than I thought it would be. I don't know. I just didn't think Salah was going to get benched. I didn't think Trent was going to get benched. If anything, I thought Robertson was going to get benched. And then all of a sudden, Robertson's on the field, and Trent and Salah are both benched. And it was really unfortunate that Salah came on for his 1-pointer. If he had not come on, Kane would have been our captain. Martinelli would have came off the bench, who actually ended up starting, which I also was not expecting. So it's good to see that Martinelli is back in the squad. Hopefully he holds his place for Game Week 36 because I have decided to keep him. So that was very unfortunate for us with Salah. Looking at the Tottenham players, they did really well, which was nice. Kane and Kulusevski getting on the score sheet. Kulusevski getting a couple of assists, but Kane getting on the score. But everybody else blanking. Weghorst coming off in the 59th minute for Burnley against Watford. If anybody from Burnley was going to score, I would have preferred it to be Weghorst because at least if it's going to knock out Foster's clean sheet, it would have been at least a goal. Instead, Burnley decided to take him off in the 59th minute and still score 2 goals at the end of the game to knock Foster's clean sheet and bonus points right out of his hands, which really sucks because I really wanted those bonus points. I think that would have looked really good for us. But yeah, 38 points. It knocked us down about 1,000 places in our ranks, which was not great, but it is what it is. I don't think it could have went a lot worse. Could have went a lot better. Let's move on to what we're looking at for Game Week 36. But first, LiveFPL. So when we look at LiveFPL, this is giving us a lot of interesting insight. Obviously, we can see that we dropped 1,000 places. Actually, over 1,000, more like 1,200. But the things that are interesting for us to learn is that Pookie is a differential, so he'll be a differential next week against in his double game week. Foster's is a differential, and he's also got a double game week next week. Robertson becoming less of a differential, which is very interesting. Good thing we have him, but it's obviously not 100% necessity. Trent still got lots of ownership. And yeah, just very interesting to look at this stuff. Coutinho actually technically going, I think a lot of people are transferring out this week before 2 double game weeks in a row. I think it's just madness. He hasn't been performing as well, but when he plays against the worst teams, he usually does better. Another couple interesting things here are Martinelli and Rafinha. Both players have decided to keep for their double game weeks. Their top 10 ownership is almost nil. It's almost nothing. If you look, 2.3% and 2.9%, it's barely anything, so they will be huge differentials for us in the upcoming double game week. If we look at players that are actually affecting our rank because we don't have them, Watkins, Ronaldo, Son, obviously, Saka, these 2 were absolutely terrible for us. I mean, I love seeing Son score a couple goals, but definitely hurting our rank, that's for sure. As you can see, he dropped us down almost 400 places just on his own. Laporte, also not great for us, but we have Cancelo, so they should hopefully equal each other out. Cash, we don't have any Aston Villa defenders, so he was definitely hurting us last game week. James as well. Matip we can't get in because we have a full team. But yeah, I just think these stats are very interesting to look at. Another interesting player is Nketiah. He seemed to be brought in by about 4% of top 10K managers last week. Luckily, he blanked, but we'll have to see how he does in the upcoming game weeks. Okay, so this is the team going into Game Week 36. I'm going to be using my bench boost. It's already confirmed. I've taken a -4 to bring in 2 new players that I think you can see on the screen already, are Digne and Nketiah. I think Nketiah is definitely starting both games. I don't see Lacazette coming back into the fray. Martinelli, I'm a little bit more worried about. He could potentially become a -8 down to Gordon, but we'll have to wait and see. I doubt I'll do that, but it's something that's on the chopping block. It's something that I could definitely consider. But yeah, let's just start from back to front. Ramsdale in net. Got the double, looking good. Hoping for a clean sheet against Leeds. Hoping they lose to Tottenham. Honestly, as a Tottenham fan, it would not be the worst thing in the world to see them lose to Leeds. I know it would probably hurt my rank, but I'd love to see Arsenal lose a couple games. Looking in front of him, we got Trent and Alexander-Arnold. I'll just talk about Salah as well. He's going to be our captain. Tottenham and Aston Villa. I mean, I think the Tottenham game, it's at home. Tottenham haven't won at Anfield since 2010, I think. It's It's been like at least a decade, so I really doubt that they're going to win this game, especially with the form Liverpool are in. They're probably gonna win. Probably win the Champions League. Probably win the FA Cup. I don't know if they'll win the Premier League. That's something else that might be a little bit more difficult, just because Man City are now out of the Champions League after tonight. Speaking of Man City going out, Cancelo's in here. I am a little bit worried about his minutes. He could potentially be benched for one of these two games, but I also doubt that he's going to be benched because like they don't have anybody else really to play these positions. Zinchenko is just not as good. Ake is not as good. Stone's not as good and also injured. And Walker actually went off in the 60th minute, I think roughly, in the Champions League, injured as well. So Cancelo, I feel like, is almost 100% nailed for these two games, but he could also be benched. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So for the Chelsea boys, I'm kind of happy I got rid of Mount and Rudiger. I know that Rudiger probably would start both games, and honestly, Alonso could be benched for one of these two games. But I just think that the Chelsea players are doing it absolutely crazy rotate against Leeds, which is probably going to save Leeds from relegation if they can somehow pull out a win in that game. But yeah, I worry about all Chelsea assets in that game, so I'm kind of happy I only have one for this game week. Wolves at home, I think Alonso definitely starts that, so we'll get probably like 120 minutes out of Alonso if I had to guess. So I brought in Digne and I brought in Coutinho last week for these doubles. They on paper look all right. I mean, Burnley have been in better form, so that could potentially be bad for them. And Liverpool, obviously Liverpool, they're gonna be amazing. But I think the next week is really what I brought them in for. But I think bringing them in this week is not the worst thing in the world. I do think that Liverpool is probably going to hurt them, and Digne is the ultimate FPL troll. I'm not sure how I felt about bringing him in. I wanted to bring in cash, but he would have been a little bit too expensive for my future transfers I want to do, so I decided against that. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Digne plays. If he doesn't play, I'm literally going to have no idea why. He played last game. He wasn't expected to come back. He came back, and if he doesn't play, I'm gonna lose my mind. Looking up top, we got Kane, and on the bench we have Kulusevski. Liverpool away and Arsenal at home are not easy fixtures whatsoever, but Tottenham love showing up against Arsenal, so I'm hoping that we can get some goals there. Liverpool away, I'm expecting maybe a Son goal. I know that's going to be bad for our rank, but realistically, Liverpool play with a high line, and Kane can spray passes anywhere on the field, so I could see him getting an assist to Son from like a long ball that he runs onto. Kulusevski, I don't know what he's going to do in the Liverpool game. Probably just start, hopefully. After Mora's abysmal performance against Leicester, I really doubt that Kulusevski gets benched again this season, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. We got Pukki also leading the line with West Ham at home and Leicester away. Norwich have absolutely nothing to play for. They've already been relegated. I've already made my money off of their relegation, which I'm very happy with. And I just don't see them doing too well. Pukki, hopefully they can turn it around and score some goals for some fun and before they go down, but I just don't see it happening. They're just going to be a team that yo-yos up and down the Premier League and Championship year after year. So we'll say goodbye to them this year. We'll see them in a couple years, and we'll see if Pukki's still there. Last up in our forward line is Nketiah. He's playing Leeds and Tottenham. Like I said with Ramsdale, I would love to see them lose. Same with Martinelli. I would love to see Arsenal lose these games. It would look great for Tottenham's top four potential, but the odds of that happening are pretty low. Leeds have been absolutely terrible overall this season, and Tottenham away is not an easy game for them. So we'll have to wait and see. I think they probably win Leeds, probably like 2 or 3-0, and then Tottenham away, I think they lose probably like 2-1, or maybe like 2-2, and get a tie out of it, which would be pretty terrible for Tottenham, but I could see it happening. The last players on our bench for our bench boost are Foster, which is going to give us a great differential, especially against Crystal Palace and Everton. I mean, Everton have started to pull it together and are pulling their way out of the relegation battle, but I still think that Watford could get something on them. I'm hoping for a clean sheet. I'm hoping that Foster gets probably one clean sheet this week. And if he gets one clean sheet, that will be absolutely humongous for us because his overall, like we talked about before, was pretty low owned. I think it was like 10% roughly. So if he gets something in these games, we're looking very good. The same thing goes for Rafinha. Rafinha had about 2% ownership. He's been going down in price. I know that Leeds have been very terrible, but Rafinha is an absolutely amazing FPL asset for his price, in my opinion. He's on penalties. He's playing against a Chelsea team that are going to be rotating. He's going to be playing against an Arsenal team that's going to be very nervous because if they lose that game, they're going to have a very hard time getting their top 4 spot secured. So honestly, it could be a good week for Rafinha. And I think if it is a good week for Rafinha, we're looking very, very good. Okay, so on to the point predictions from Fantasy Football Hub. Okay, so as we can see here, we've got lots of points coming up, hopefully. It does have Cancelo captain. That's not going to happen. Salah's getting captain. Yeah, I mean, our whole defense, except for Digne, has like a 10-point potential. Nketiah has a 10-point potential. Salah has 10 points. On our bench, we have Foster and Ramsdale both getting like 7+ point potential. Adding that all up, we're protected to get like 140 or 130. We'll see if we actually can get that. I doubt it, but I'd love to see it. It's looking like a very good game week for us. And if we look to the future for our transfer plans, next week I'm planning to bring in Gordon for Martinelli. I just worry that Martinelli's minutes won't last the way they are for the rest of the season. That would mean benching Nketiah against Newcastle and Kulusevski against Burnley, which is not fantastic, but it is what it is. I think it's worth it for the doubles. Probably captain Coutinho just because he's got a double game against Burnley and Crystal Palace both at home. Those were the fixtures I was talking about earlier that I think Aston Villa could do really well in, especially Coutinho. And yeah, honestly, I might bench Alonso for Kulusevski. That's like a debate in my head. We'll see. If Alonso's going to play, then yeah, but if not, then Kulusevski gets on the field. Projecting us to get around 72 points, which is pretty decent. And the final game week, I'm planning to do one move in the final game week of the season. It's Coutinho to Mount. I was going to do Havertz, but actually for some reason it hasn't projected at even less points than Mount. We'll have to wait and see. It'll be one of those two for sure, and this is what the team will line up as. It will require me to play Nketiah against Everton, so hopefully he does play, because if not, then Digne is coming on against... Well, actually, I'd probably play Pukki first on my bench against Tottenham at home, which will not be an easy game for them, and I don't expect them to score any goals. So these are the transfer plans going into the last game week of the season. I hope everyone has a good game week. I hope anybody that's using their chips this week does really well. That's myself included. I'm really hoping that we can gain some rank here and hopefully get back into that top 1,000. That was my goal about halfway through the season, and I'm really hoping that I can get back up there and finish with a top 1,000 world rank. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching the video. If you liked what you saw, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. Please feel free to also leave any comments about what I'm doing or what about you want to do. I'd love to answer any questions you have about your own teams and help out any way I can. Anyways, I hope everyone has a good week, and cheers, everybody.